Factors on tonight.
I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher. Like to punch him in the face.
Donald Trump responding to a heckler in Nevada. Is that kind of blunt talk actually helping him with some voters? We'll have a special report.
This is about closing a chapter in our history. It reflects the lessons that we've learned since 9/11.
The president announcing the closing of the Guantanamo Bay prison. But is that legal? Can he do it unilaterally? Is it legal? On the case.
You know, in Bernie Sanders, I see a man saying that the emperor has no clothes. Well, everyone around him saying they insist they see clothes.
Also ahead, Dick Van Dyke supporting Bernie Sanders. We're not sure what Rose, Marie, and Mary will think about that.
Well, it's just getting late.
Caution, you are about to enter the no-spin zone. Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Covering the presidential race, that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Some in the American media do not quite understand that reporting and analyzing what presidential candidates are doing and saying is not supposed to be a rooting experience. When you root for someone, you cannot possibly cover that person in a fair and balanced way. Now, if you're not a journalist, it really doesn't matter. Plenty of programs on radio and TV that use political campaigns for entertainment purposes. Comedy Central, for example, makes a living doing that, with Stewart and Colbert becoming stars. But the serious business of actually bringing information to you, the American people, about those who want power over you is no joke. It's well documented. National press in this country leans left. In fact, if the Fox News channel did not exist, almost all the television reportage would come from liberal-leaning companies. That's a fact. There's also pressure to get ratings, to bring in candidates who will attract a mass audience. Donald Trump's the best example of that. He's in great demand on TV. Mr. Trump knows this. But I have to say he has been fairly fearless, showing up pretty much everywhere to make his case. We hope that continues. However, like every other candidate, Mr. Trump wants to be treated in a way that he considers fair. And therein lies the problem. What's fair? There are some political candidates who will not appear on certain venues because they do not want to subject themselves to rigorous questioning. Sometimes I tell you who those people are. Dick Cheney, for example, did not do the factor while he was vice president because he knew that I had many questions about his Iraq war participation. After Mr. Cheney left office, he came in here a number of times, but while he was serving, he wanted no part of us. President Obama has sat with me for 3 interviews, but I don't believe he will do that again. Last time we spoke, the interview was very intense, and the word on the street is the president didn't like it very much. Now, that does not matter to me. My job is to ask every political candidate the tougher questions I can think of. If you watched The Factor last night, you saw Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, and Ben Carson all put through their paces. By the way, we'll have a very lively mail segment about that at the end of the program. The danger here is that some candidates will go only to venues that favor them. This week, some pirated audio featured a conversation off the air between Donald Trump and MSNBC host Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. Some believe that conversation was inappropriate. It began with Ms. Brzezinski complimenting Mr. Trump for bringing an Iraq war veteran onto the stage with him.
You know what I thought was the kind of wow moment was the guy you brought up on stage.
Yeah, that was good.
We played it several times this morning.
We played it up against Obama.
Both guys. Both guys.
What we did is we played Obama first.
The young guy
and
was
then we
the champ.
played the guys.
I saw it. I watched your show this morning. You have me almost as a legendary figure. I like it. One more segment?
One more segment, and then we're good. Thank you for doing this.
Okay. I'm doing it because I get nothing. You know, you get great ratings and a raise. Me, I get nothing.
We're getting a real window into your... So...
Well...
Just make us all look good. That's right.
Exactly.
Now, I said, Mika, it's Micah. All right. Now, Talking Points does not see anything wrong with that banter. I want to be quite clear. Donald Trump has said similar things to me off camera that he brings in big ratings and doesn't get much out of it. But he does it in a joking way, and of course he gets a lot out of it. Some believe Mr. Trump tries to co-opt some journalists, tries to persuade them to be friendly. But almost every political candidate does that. It's part of the process. Of course, politicians want favorable treatment. And there's nothing wrong with them trying to get it. But there is something very wrong with news agencies providing favorable coverage to any candidate in return for access or because of simpatico ideology. Running for president is a very serious business, and all of us covering the campaign have an obligation to be fair but tough and make no deals. And that's the memo. Now for the top story reaction with us here in New York City, former presidential candidate Rudy Giuliani, who has dealt with the press and me for decades. All right. Anything wrong with that MSNBC exchange with Trump?
No. I'm sure I've had exchanges like that as well. I mean, that's perfectly normal. And you're absolutely right. The question is, are they in the tank for you or not? Are they going to ask you the tough questions, even though you have a friendly relationship, or are they going to just, fawn all over you? And I always like being asked tough questions. If I got asked the tough questions, I was able to give the voters the tough answer.
Yeah, but sometimes you got a little testy with us when we're giving you a hard time about stuff.
I was Christie before Christie.
Yeah, you were pretty straightforward. And I apologize. It's Mika Brzezinski, right? I'm sorry. I know her for a long time. The problem with this whole thing is, though, with television, there's a ratings pressure. And particularly with Mr. Trump this year, and everybody should know this, he brings in numbers.
Absolutely.
Okay? So everybody's trying to get him. And Trump is aware of that, very well aware. Now, you're an advisor to Trump. Informally advisor?
Informal, as well as other
All right, it means he calls you up at like 3 in the morning, right?
Never at 3. Donald gets a good night's sleep.
He's a vampire, don't give me that. He calls you and he asks you certain questions. And you don't have any compunction in giving him advice, correct?
That's right. Sometimes he takes it, sometimes he doesn't.
Is that an endorsement of him?
No. I've also spoken to Jeb Bush, Chris Christie when he was a candidate, Rubio, one candidate today, who I won't mention because it was a private conversation. Mm-hmm. So I talked.
All right, so anybody who calls
you. Do I like Donald? Yes. And has he been a friend for 25 years? And I would call him a personal friend? Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've known him for a long time, too. And I don't mind answering questions by politicians calling me off camera, right. and I'm respectful to them, and I'll give them an honest answer. But I won't give them favorable treatment. And I do see a tendency here on a part of some TV people to try to curry favor, not only with Donald Trump, but with Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders, whoever it may be, to get what they call the get.
Right.
You know, and I talked to Barbara Walters a lot about this because she was a master at this.
Right.
All right, to try to butter up people to get them in.
But Barbara, I did a number of interviews with Barbara, and she when I was mayor, and she would do exactly that. But then she'd hammer you when she got you right in the middle of the
right.
No,
would she butter you up first?
10-minute interview. 8 minutes, beautiful.
Right, and then wham, and that's what you see.
The 8th minute, it was the question you never wanted to be asked by anybody.
Right, boom. And that's what you see on ABC. The other 8 minutes is gone. All right, but you know what I'm talking about. There's a big danger here for favoring one candidate or another because they bring in ratings, and I'm keeping an eye on everybody. Part of my job is to actually watch the media in this country, not just the politicians. Now, we had a situation today where President Obama is basically not going to be able to nominate a Supreme Court justice. You're aware of this, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Of course.
The Senate Judiciary Committee came flat out and said, we're not going to take any of his nominees. What do you think about that?
Well, I think President Obama created the situation for himself with taking so many executive actions that are unconstitutional, disregarding Congress, treating Congress as if it doesn't exist, having several court cases that have now overturned his executive action.
So this is payback?
No, I think it's Congress saying, why are we wasting time? You're going to send us somebody we're not going to confirm anyway.
But wouldn't it be better for the Republican Party?
You want my strategy?
Yes.
If McConnell had called me first, I would have taken his.
Yeah, let him put him up.
And I'd have voted him down.
Well, but I don't think you would have
Eventually.
You don't think you would have voted him down or her down if it was a good judge?
No, not if it was a good judge.
I mean,
But with the election so close, I probably would apply a much higher standard.
To what a good judge is.
And also, I'd be very aware of the fact that we're a 4-4 court right now, and this appointment could really
I don't want an ideological judge. I want another Kennedy. I don't want an ideological judge.
But I'd be afraid that Obama would try to slip in an ideological judge.
Right. But right now, everybody should know.
Actually, McConnell's answer should have been, it's too early to talk about this. One of our great justices just died.
Yeah, let's let it breathe
for the next
a little
week.
while.
Let's just how about we just think about Nino Scalia for the next week?
But Americans should know that behind the scenes, the Republican Party has decided we're not going to take a nominee. I mean, you can put him up, but we're not voting on him in the Judiciary Committee. It's not getting to the floor, and that's it.
I mean, they have a right to do that.
They do.
They have the same constitutional right he has.
And I don't think it's going to be an issue in the presidential campaign. Now, last question. Trump versus Hillary. You know them both. If Hillary calls you for advice, are you going to give it to her?
Well, first of all, I don't think she'll call me for advice.
Why? Does she not like you?
I think she thinks we're such different political positions. Hillary's never actually called me for advice. Actually, when she was senator, she did several times when I was the mayor.
Yeah, I thought you had a pretty good relationship with her.
I do have a good relationship with her, and I like her, and I like Bill, but she would not be likely to call me for advice because I'd give her just the opposite advice of everything she's doing. Donald and I probably agree on 80% of the things, as I do with most of the
both Yankee fans, right?
We're both Yankee fans,
right.
And my rule, I work for President Reagan, my 80% friend is not my 20% enemy.
Right.
So we can disagree on 20%.
So Trump versus Hillary.
Trump for sure.
That's who you'll support.
Oh, of course.
Who'll win?
I think he'll win.
You do?
Yeah, because I think if he gets the nomination, there's something going on here, some magic going on here that none of us have gotten from the very beginning.
And he'll probably lean on you a lot if he gets the nomination.
If he gets the nomination,
yeah,
there's something going on that he caught that nobody else caught. Because 6 months ago, everybody waiting for him to implode.
Not me.
Not me either.
I did the first interview when he announced. Knew he was going to be, because I knew the anger out there. All right, Mr. Mayor, we appreciate you coming in. Your candor as always. Thank you. Next on the rundown, Andrea Tantaros, Marianne Marsh will react to covering the presidential crew. Then later in the Impact segment tonight, would you support someone for president who doesn't want to answer tough questions? Joining us now to answer that question, Marianne Marsh in Boston, Andrea Tantaros here in New York City. So what do you think of that Trump MSNBC little back and forth?
I think if you read the transcript and you don't watch the video, you think that something could be inappropriate. But if you watch the video, there's nothing there. I mean, Donald Trump has been going on Morning Joe for years. Like, he's been going on Fox and Friends. So you can tell that he has a cozy relationship and a very friendly relationship with both Joe and Mika. So I don't think this is a big deal.
Do you believe that if you are tough on Trump, that he will hold it against you?
I think that he has, and he can, not for long. I mean, you've been very tough on him, yet he still continues to come on the Factor. A lot of reporters here at Fox and journalists at Fox have been tough on Donald Trump. Doesn't seem to scare him away for a long time. So he's been able to answer the tough questions, I think, unlike the Democrats. I mean, Hillary Clinton hasn't taken a question in over 70 days.
Yeah, she doesn't like to answer tough questions. Would that be accurate to you, that Hillary Clinton likes to stay away from confrontational interviews?
No, I don't think that's the case. I think in the primary, she certainly has some media targets and places she wants to be to win over base Democrats. But ultimately, if you want to be president of the United States, you have to take on all comers. You have to take on every interview, every opportunity, everybody, because that's what voters are looking for. They know when you're ducking, and they know if you don't stand up for yourself and your beliefs.
Do you think the voters
they see
care
that as
anymore?
not as standing up for them.
Do you think they care
absolutely,
anymore?
because,
really?
Yes.
You should hang around
Bill,
for the mail segment on the Factor, because every time, I don't know. This is my, and I want to get your opinions on this. Look, I get mail every time I ask a politician a hard question or interrupt one of their filibusters, because you know they all come in with rehearsed garbage, and we don't take that on the Factor. So I'll interrupt them and I'll throw them off their game, and then their supporters, you're unfair, you would do this, that, and that. Now, so to me, I don't know if all Americans want tough questions asked to the candidates. I'm not sure of that, Marianne.
Well, the fact they take the time to write you tells you they do. But what the measure they take is when they see a candidate, especially for president, who doesn't stand up for themselves or their beliefs, that says to the voter, that person's not going to stand up for me. I don't want them in the White House. That is the ultimate test for many people in this country.
Do you think that?
I think that if they support a certain candidate, they feel and they view certain questions as being unfair.
Because you get that, right?
What do you mean I get it?
You get it on outnumbered, right?
Well, we've had a number of presidential candidates come on outnumbered, and I have taken a lot of flack. I was very hard on Chris Christie, very tough on Lindsey Graham, but I asked very, very tough questions.
And didn't their supporters yell at you afterward?
Yes, I got a lot of nasty tweets, but that's my job.
Okay, but what I'm trying to assess here is the gauge of the American public. Do you want hard questions asked, even if you like the person or not? Here's something, Marianne. Last night, Ben Carson came on, and I told the truth. that he has no chance to win the nomination. Everyone on earth knows that, all right? Ben Carson knows that. Ben Carson's in the race still to get his message out. That's worthy, all right? You should see all the men. How dare you? You know, how dare I? I mean, this is my job. So I'm not sure that you ladies are really, I'm not sure the American public wants the truth, as Jack Nicholson once said.
You're dealing with the diehards right now, the people who really are devoted to their candidates and are trying to defend them. But as you get closer to November, every voter now is picking up perceptions of everybody who could be the next president of the United States, and they are holding them accountable. Voters are the toughest critics of all, and they know when you duck, they do care.
If Hillary Clinton doesn't come up in an interview with me, and I hope she does, then you won't vote for her.
I expect she will.
But you won't vote for her if she doesn't. So you're going to vote for whoever the Republican is if Hillary doesn't come in here. And that's the attitude I want.
That's not happening. That is not happening. She'll be here. She'll be here.
Then you're not holding them. You're saying one thing and not doing the other. You're saying they got to come in.
I said she's going to. He will come in.
Come on.
No, she'll be in. I'll bet you on it.
No, Hillary has ducked a lot of interviews for a long time, especially on her emails originally. But Bill, look, if people like Ted Cruz, if you say something negative about Ted Cruz and you're being fair, they'll come after you. If they don't like Donald Trump and you say something critical, they'll come after you. It depends on who they support. But they do want tough questions asked because the times and the
even if they don't like it.
Even if they don't like it, they want it.
All right, ladies, I hope you're right. Directly ahead, why are some very religious Americans supporting the secular Republican candidate, Donald Trump? Why? We'll try to find out. Also, is it legal on Apple versus the FBI? Gitmo being shut down? Maybe. Bill Cosby's wife forced to testify in a defamation case. Up ahead. Campaign 2016 segment tonight on Saturday in the Republican South Carolina primary. Evangelicals broke this way. 33% supported Donald Trump, 27% Ted Cruz, 22% Marco Rubio. So Trump, the most secular of the three, won among very religious voters. Joining us now from Nashville, Tennessee, Pastor Robert Jeffress, author of the brand new book, Not All Roads Lead to Heaven. So were you surprised by the South Carolina evangelical vote, Pastor?
I was surprised that Trump won by as much as he did with evangelicals, especially over a more traditional evangelical candidate like Ted Cruz. Look, Bill, I think there are two factors at work that explain the Trump phenomenon with evangelicals. First of all, he's the only candidate who can clearly claim to be an outsider. You know, Cruz and Rubio claim the outsider mantle, but they're still part of that elite group called the U.S. Senate. But the other factor here is, in a strange way, I think the same-sex marriage ruling by the Supreme Court last June actually made a more secular candidate like Donald Trump. I mean, evangelicals, many of them say if we can't depend upon government to uphold biblical values like marriage and life, maybe we ought to let the church articulate those values and let government be responsible for fixing the immigration and solving the economy.
They gave up on having the federal government actually make a decision that is compatible with their religious beliefs. That could be, it's speculation. But here's what I find interesting. Part of the nasty battle in South Carolina was over Trump's perceived sympathies toward Planned Parenthood, for example. All right, Ted Cruz made a big deal out of that even last night on this program. And the evangelical movement is usually fairly judgmental. It has been in the past. But it's giving Trump a pass on his less than strident view of Planned Parenthood and of gay marriage and of social issues. He's giving, the evangelicals are giving him a pass this year. And is it just because he's an outsider and they're angry about politics? Is that the only reason?
Well, I think they're allowing for the fact that Trump has evolved. He says he's evolved. And look, Bill, I was in his office in Trump Tower. I asked him straight in the eye the question, would you defund Planned Parenthood over abortion? He said he would. I take him at his word on that. I believe what he's saying is Planned Parenthood has done some good things, but if they continue to perform abortions, he said he would defund them.
Okay, so you believe him, and obviously others do as well. In Texas, your home state, there is a big evangelical vote. Ted Cruz is a hometown guy, the senator from Texas. Do you see a different outcome in the vote there than in South Carolina?
It would be wrong to write off Ted Cruz at this point. He's 8 points ahead in Texas right now. Don't forget he has 12,000 volunteers in Texas who helped propel him to an unexpected upset victory back in 2012. So I think it's going to be tighter. But Bill, remember this, Donald Trump doesn't have to win Texas. Ted Cruz has to win Texas.
Yes.
If he doesn't, he's finished.
Okay. But you're not in a position to make a call down there, your church, because you have a big mega church. I mean, are they a lot of Trump supporters, or are they standing by Cruz?
We've got a lot of Trump supporters, some Rubio, some Cruz. Ted Cruz has spoken in my church before, but a lot of people like Donald Trump as well. So we try to leave that outside the church and not bring it inside the church.
When you speak on Sundays, do you make your preference known?
Absolutely not. People watch me on the O'Reilly Factor and know that I've said some nice things about Donald Trump. I think he could make a great president, but I don't endorse officially from the pulpit. We talk about issues, not personalities.
Do you count anyone out?
Well, look, it's interesting. Right before I came on the Factor tonight, I got a call from a representative from the Carson campaign asking me to attend a meeting this Saturday in Dallas with Carson. So I don't think he's ready to drop out yet, Bill. He may be just staying in there to stick it to Cruz.
Are you going to go to the breakfast?
I can't. I have a speaking engagement. Okay. Otherwise, I think it'd be interesting.
Would you eliminate Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders because of their pro-choice stance?
I would never vote for Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders because of their pro-abortion stance. Never, never.
All right, Pastor. We appreciate your candor. Thanks very much. Plenty more ahead. As the Factor moves along this evening, Gutfeld and McGurk trying to figure out why Dick Van Dyke is supporting Bernie Sanders. Also, is it legal on Bill Cosby's wife being forced to testify in a defamation lawsuit? We'll hope you stay tuned for those reports.
Things were different. Now you call homes and everybody's out working.
I want to say your comment earlier about the women came out of the kitchen to support you. I'll come to support you, but I won't be coming out of the kitchen.
I got you. I got you.
Now, predictably, some grievance people were offended by the governor's remarks.
I thought that it was incredibly tone deaf. We're talking about 1978. My mother wasn't in the kitchen, and that's not to say there isn't anything wrong with being a stay-at-home mom, but the blanket statement that all the women that voted for him got out of the kitchen was, I think, offensive.
Baloney. Joining us now from Washington, Katie Pavlich, here in New York City, Kennedy. So here's my position.
Yes.
Anybody offended by that? In the context of which it was said.
Yeah.
All right, that it was a different time in 1978. Far more women were homemakers, but they left their home to elect John Kasich. All right? Anybody offended by that is a pinhead.
I agree with you. I mean, this is the biggest bowl of nonsense we've been fed during this entire election cycle. You're talking about John Kasich, who said, I was a kid in 1978. My mom was at home making yellow cupcakes for the bake sale with all the other moms I knew who were at home, and they were really proud of the work they were doing.
Okay.
Why is he kitchen shaming people? That's not what he's doing. But that's what these feminists are doing when they respond to
Unfortunately, Katie, the governor actually apologize if I offended anybody. He should have said, hey, you pinhead, I didn't mean that, and I was putting it in context, is that my appeal, all right, is to people who are traditionalists. And that's what he was saying. And you say?
He was talking about a completely different time period. He was talking about the women that he was engaging with on a regular basis. He was going to people's homes and having conversations with them inside their homes. And I have to say, for the record, it's not John Kasich who is kitchen shaming. Let's not forget Hillary Clinton's famous quote from 1992 when she said, well, I could have just stayed home and made milk and cookies and had tea, but instead I went out to work. So Hillary Clinton took advantage of John Kasich's statement, which was in the context, has no controversy
Did
at all.
Hillary say something about Kasich?
She tweeted
She tweeted. What did she tweet?
Woman's place is ellipsis wherever she wants.
Oh.
Yeah.
How profound. Tweeting.
Yes.
I love tweeting.
So
all right,
smart.
Now I'm going to ask you both this question. Do you know women who just are offended by everything, that look to be offended, that if you make a comment, and particularly if you're a man, Oh, do you know people like that?
I do know people like that. I've had to unfriend many of them on
Unfriend?
Facebook.
Yes, unfriended.
I do not want to hear anyone's political convictions or views on feminism.
So do you
on
know
Facebook.
that you need these
I know
whiners?
these people, but
Yeah.
it's funny because Donald Trump has come out and said John McCain is not a war hero. He said that Ariana Huffington is unattractive inside and out, and her husband was right to leave her for another man. And no one gets outraged by that because Donald Trump owns what he says. I think John Kasich actually made a mistake by apologizing and
So do
qualifying
I don't
his
think you should have
statement.
apologized. Now, do you know grievance women who are just looking to be offended by stuff that isn't really designed to offend?
Bill, I just hope that when I buy cookies and cupcakes from the store because I don't bake very well, that people aren't offended, okay? I mean, I prefer women who decide to be alpha in the sense they don't allow things like this to affect them. Again,
But do
if
you
you're gonna
know
get-
anyone in your world who's like this?
There's a couple people in my world, but as Kennedy said, in terms of close friends, no. We have bigger
so you
problems to
defriend.
deal with
Now, I
than
have,
John
to
Kasich
I have
talking
a
about the
breaking
kitchen.
news thing. All right. See this? Miss Kennedy was in the kitchen last night baking these gluten-free cookies.
Gluten-free and dairy-free.
For me. All
Big
right?
smooth right
so you
here.
were in the kitchen.
I work and then I go home
to
and
the
I make stuff
kitchen
in the kitchen where I'm not
to do
enslaved.
it.
I'm not. It's not indentured servitude. I love it.
All right? All right?
hate it.
And you
It's fair
ladies out
balance.
there offended? Write to Kennedy. Tweet to Kennedy. All right, whatever. All right, ladies, as always, thank you. Is it legal on President Obama closing Gitmo? Apple versus the FBI. Bill Cosby's wife forced to testify in a defamation case. Legal is next.
10 counting.
Thanks for staying with us, and Bill O'Reilly in the Is It Legal segment tonight. 3 hot topics, so let's get right to attorneys and Fox News analyst Kimberly Guilfoyle, Elise Wheel. So, Wheel, Apple, you believe they're going to lose to the feds?
I do. It's a very narrow request that the feds have. It's just this one terrorist iPhone that they want to get into, and it's necessary because the FBI does not have the software that it needs to go through and really just try to get through the firewall of this one terrorist iPhone to really get through to find the password before it really kind of explodes. In other words, if you or I tried to get through a password, right, and we try so many passwords that finally just
Well, I'm
deconstructs.
sure the FBI
Right.
has got that thing, but
they don't. They can't get through to it.
No, they can't get through to it, but it's
Right.
not going to explode.
Apple is opposing it because they say it's an overreach by the U.S. government,
so
a chilling breach of privacy. But guess
Yeah.
what? This was issued by San Bernardino County, by the government, too. They have already waived the right to it, and this is a
And most
very
Americans
specifically
disagree with
tailored
Apple.
right.
I think it's
Yeah.
5138, the latest poll. But this terrorist, he was killed in the process of murdering 14
Right.
Americans.
Yeah. Right.
So on his phone, maybe people that helped him do it.
Absolutely.
That's the crux of the matter.
And also
on his phone,
future
maybe
acts.
people who helped him do it. And the FBI surely wants to know who that is. So you both agree that Apple will lose this lawsuit.
Yes.
Then what can the federal government do to Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, to make him comply and help?
They can enforce an order of civil contempt if they disobey the judge's ruling in this, and they go
Okay.
through all the motions,
Mhm.
a number of court dates coming up. Then they can fine Apple. They could fine Tim Cook, hold him in contempt.
Find him
and/or-
personally?
Yes, that is
Okay.
one of the options that I
Okay.
believe one of the
So
remedies available.
Can they put him in jail?
They in fact could.
They could.
Yes.
Okay.
Until he complies.
Could they put him with Snowden in the Ecuadorian
Well,
embassy?
then Snowden would just
Could they
bring
get him
him to
over
the
there?
phone.
Because that would break
not-
Cook.
it's
If he
not
had to be with
meant-
Snowden, he'd break.
It's not meant to be
pretty funny.
punitive. It's meant to coerce someone, and in this case, Cook or the company, to comply. That's
Well,
all
with the
it's
law,
meant
with
to
the
do,
judge's
is to
order.
comply with the judge's order.
All right,
here.
we'll see. But we all feel that the
Yes.
feds will win. Guantanamo Bay, today the president on television, he says he's going to close Guantanamo Bay, go for it.
Right,
But he can't close Guantanamo
No,
Bay. He can't.
because, correct, Mr. O'Reilly, currently illegal under federal law to bring any Gitmo detainees onto U.S. soil
Right.
or to compel funds to do so. Congress has the power of the purse. Congress is not going to, we already know they've been on the
So
record
all
about
of this
this,
was just
agree to
political.
it. This is
He
political
can't close
posturing
the prison.
He can't. He's
to
even said that
enforce
he
his
knows that he
legacy.
can't.
He knows he can't.
He knows that he
So
can't.
he went on and he just saying, look, to his followers who he pledged to close, look, I want to, but he didn't mention today, I thought it was interesting in his speech, that he can't do it.
No.
That he can't do it. Or the locations in the United States that he would bring people to 13. You think
Right. But that's not even going to happen
That'll hurt Hillary
because he
Clinton.
can't close it.
He can't
Correct.
close it. He
All right,
doesn't have the power
Congress
to
has to
exactly.
close it.
look, he had to file a report. It could have been just a little report. Here, file a report.
It's a grandstand
That's all he had
play,
to do.
right?
Exactly. He didn't have to
All
go and make this big
It's
speech.
DOA.
Got it. Camille
not the
Cosby looks like a nice woman. Would you say that?
Yeah,
She's been married to Bill Cosby
person.
for,
52
I guess,
years.
52
Very long.
years?
Long time.
All right, so there's a defamation lawsuit up in Massachusetts where Bill Cosby's suing one of his accusers in civil court, and the defense attorney for the accuser who's being sued drags in Mrs. Cosby to give a deposition. All right, she tried to fight it, but the system said you got to come in.
Right.
Here's my question. Does a wife in America have to testify against her husband?
In Massachusetts, under criminal law, no, she would not have testified. But this is a civil matter.
Criminal can,
under
civil
Massachusetts
can.
law, yes, she can be compelled, is what you saw here.
So if she lies in the deposition, that's a crime, right?
That's perjury.
Yeah, it would be.
All right, they very
Yeah.
rarely, because everybody lies in civil court.
You know,
everybody
it's hard to
knows.
prove perjury.
we don't want to encourage
Very
that
hard,
idea.
Right, and it's very
All
hard
right.
to prove perjury.
But she can't say, or her lawyer can't say, look, she can't answer that question because she's married to Bill Cosby.
No, but
She has
also
to
There
answer.
is a very slight narrow trick in there, because she can say, look, under certain intimate discussions, there's a slight variation there, and then what happens is literally they stop the deposition and they call the court and they have the court rule on that.
Okay, and then they'll decide on that specific issue. But she also, there's some mixed, coverage here in terms of she also served as business manager. So there's questions that could be asked of her that do not pertain to private marital discourse.
Okay,
Therefore,
but you
she can
assume that the business end of it in a defamation suit isn't going to be it. But there are criminal proceedings against Mr. Cosby, but you're telling me that she doesn't have to testify in those, right?
Well, no, not the criminal
spouse
part. No.
is shielded.
She's shielded only on the intimate conversation. But no, I disagree with you on that. The business
that's
part
what
is
I
very
thought you
important.
said. I'm not putting it forth. I thought you said in a criminal case, wives or husbands cannot be
Are
compelled.
not forced on the intimate conversations, exactly. But
Under
here's what-
Massachusetts
under Massachusetts law. But
Just in Massachusetts.
Which would apply
Right,
here.
I got to stop it there. Okay, thank you very much, ladies. Gutfeld and McGurk on deck. Dick Van Dyke supporting Bernie Sanders. How could that possibly happen? Dick Van Dyke. The boys, straight ahead. Back in the book segment tonight, some celebrities are becoming involved with the presidential race. Donnie Wahlberg, New Kids on the Block, love them. Apparently supporting Marco Rubio. And Dick Van Dyke is feeling the burn.
You know, in Bernie Sanders, I see a man saying that the emperor has no clothes, while everyone around him saying they insist they see clothes. And whether or not he makes it to the White House, I hope and pray that everyone hears the alarm he's sounding now. Maybe the last voice we ever hear.
I have no idea what that means. But here to explain it to us, Bernard McGurk and Greg Gutfeld. So the last voice we'll ever hear is Bernie Sanders, according to Mr. Van Dyke, and I'm not quite sure what he's getting at.
Well, Dick Van Dyke loves this really young whippersnapper in Bernie Sanders. He's a young go-getter. I'm waiting for Maury Amsterdam to chime in and Rosemarie. I'm not sure they're still alive, but I'm waiting for them to pipe in.
I think both have passed.
And Julie Andrews, by the way.
Yes.
But Mr. Van Dyke is, what, 91, I think?
Listen, it looks
right?
great.
He is an American hero. At 87, he married his young makeup artist, so let's not...
Is that right?
Yes, he did.
Is that her?
I believe that's her. Yeah, but listen, if he gets Betty White, he gets the assisted living vote, Sanders does, so they're on a roll.
Look, Dick Van Dyke, very talented guy. I mean, let's face it. But I had no idea what he was talking about there.
No, made no sense.
There was emperor. There was an emperor in there. There was clothes and no clothes. And then we have to listen, or it's the last voice we'll hear. It almost was like one of those science fiction movies where it's not really Dick Van Dyke. It's some little Martian that's in his throat.
That happened to me once. I ate at Chipotle. You know, he's no Lyle Wagner.
Okay. Now, the Nevada vote will go to Trump tonight. I'm predicting right here. Nevada's a very rural state. Trump appeals to the people who don't like the government, and a lot of people in Nevada don't like the government. I don't know anyone in Nevada who likes the government.
No.
Mo Green, remember Mo?
Of course.
He did not like the government before he was shot in the eye. So he's going to win. Now, tomorrow, we can expect to see Trump has got it, right? Do you guys believe that? Trump has got it?
Unless they find Donald Trump in Lamar Odom's old room at the Bunny Ranch with a baggie of cocaine. He's going all the way to the
You
nomination.
think so?
Absolutely,
You think so?
positively.
Gutfeld?
Yeah, if some people drop out and there's some candidate might have, the media was a high school. Donald's the jock that just glides in and out without books and just does and demands you do his homework. And the media are the teachers. They just let him come in and give him all this free time. Rubio, however, he's the most electable. But the problem is he looks like the 6th member of Menudo. He looks like he arrives at the debate on a Schwinn with a card in the spokes.
But remember, JFK was a very youthful president, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
but he's the most electable according to the entrance polls. So
I don't know really what that means, though. I don't know what most electable is. The only thing I've reported on this, and it's interesting, is that the Clinton campaign, Hillary Clinton campaign, and she's going to win the nomination unless the FBI takes her down, doesn't want to run against Marco Rubio. They're salivating to run against Donald Trump. But I think they might be underestimating Trump, as everybody has.
I totally agree. That's today. He's counting Rubio as on some fuzzy math. He thinks he's going to get the Bush votes and the Kasich votes combined. The people who supported Bush don't like Marco Rubio because he was disloyal. But now he does have Donnie Wahlberg's endorsement.
He does.
Let's not forget.
Right. And you think the other guys will show up, the other new kids?
He could get the Jonas Brothers and, I don't know, the Donald Trump.
Kasich is not going to drop out. Kasich's going to stay until Ohio primary.
I don't get it.
Carson will probably be done after.
I don't get it. He once guest hosted O'Reilly. Being a president, it's a step down. It's a step down.
I know. That's why I'm not running.
You didn't run.
That's why I'm not running.
Nope.
I want to mention Emma Girk has a radio show on WABC, big powerhouse in New York City, and he is the frontliner thanks to this program, and we do get a check every week from Bernard.
Bernie and Sid, baby.
Okay, guys. Fact and tip of the day: how you can stop bad behavior. The tip, moments away. Dr. Tip of the day, stopping bad behavior in a moment. But first, the mail. Bob Schumann, Quartz Hill, California. Bill, you gave Rubio 15 minutes, but Cruz less than 10 minutes. Not fair. False, Bob. Both candidates got the same amount of time last night. Your watch must be broken. Logan Oldenburg, Naples, Florida. Bill, I commend the way you handled Rubio and Cruz, but when you got to Ben Carson, you said, I don't think you're going to make it. That was a hard blow. It's my job, Logan. Dr. Carson is not going to get the Republican nomination this time around. That's it. Ted Yo, Chester, South Carolina. O'Reilly, how dare you discuss with Ben Carson the fact that he doesn't have much of a chance? How dare I, Ted? How dare I? Good grief. Kathy Schultz of Valrico, Florida. O'Reilly, how come you didn't ask Ben Carson the same questions you asked Cruz and Rubio? Because his circumstance is different, Kathy. All interviews are dictated by circumstance. Stephen Martin, Cave Creek, Arizona. O'Reilly, your interview with Carson was excellent. Jeb Bush, the best qualified candidate, had the good judgment to leave the race. Jerry Adam, Maple Valley, Washington. O'Reilly, you were polite with Rubio but confrontational with Cruz. Marsha Frost, Springfield, Virginia. O'Reilly, you were rude to Rubio. Lana Lundgren, McCall, Idaho. Bill, thank you for allowing Cruz to explain deportation as it actually applies to illegal immigrants. Thomas Kogan, Winchester, Virginia. I was amazed at Ted Cruz's pledge to deport all illegals. So here's the deal on the mail last night. Many viewers are rooting, as I said in the talking points, for a candidate, and that's good. It's good. It's what a vibrant democracy is all about. But if you object to tough questioning of your favorite candidate, that's not good. In fact, it provides the best political coverage because there's no rooting here. Everybody's treated the same way. Steve Quartano, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Am I the only one that thinks Pope Francis was using his walls and bridges comment as an appeal for openness and understanding? That's exactly what the Pope did, Steve. But he made a mistake in including Donald Trump. He should have kept his remarks general and avoided the U.S. border issue unless he's aware of the many complexities of the illegal immigration problem in America, and he isn't. Nancy Wysock, Newport Richey, Florida. O'Reilly, best talking points ever last night. I saved it to replay, and we have posted those talking points on BillO'Reilly.com, Nancy. Thank you. Tanya Loper, Plant City, Florida. Signed up for BillO'Reilly.com premium membership. Received my free copy of Killing Reagan. Great read. It made me realize how far this country has strayed from respect and human decency. It has changed a lot since the 1980s. Also, I want to wish a very happy birthday to Helen McDaniel, watching us in Bayside, Queens, 97 years old. And I can't wish all the birthdays. We get a lot of those, but, you know, once in a while we'll mention someone. It's like the lottery. And finally tonight, the fact tip of the day. You may remember last fall that chaos broke out at the University of Missouri when some radical students and teachers embarrassed the school during demonstrations against racism or something. One teacher was actually charged with threatening a photographer. Well, now it seems that Mizzou alum are punishing that bad behavior for $2 million. So here's the tip of the day. Whenever an institution acts poorly in your opinion, walk away. Whether it's a school, store, airline, whatever it is, don't support them. That's a good way to correct misguided behavior. And that is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, we would like you to spout off about the Factor. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name and town if you wish to opine. Word of the day, do not be tendentious when writing to the Factor. Now, tomorrow, we'll analyze the Nevada vote. So we have a special report on deporting illegal immigrants. What's the real deal? Again, thanks for watching tonight. Miss Megan's next. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Please remember, the spin stops here, so we're definitely looking out for you.